Hello, welcome back to the readings of the Funk Treatise 5th edition. Today we have Corah Agoff, or Agoff, sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, Corah, reading pages 261 through 270. Once again, Corah, thank you for reading these pages and sharing your thoughts. And so, let us get into it.
Hello, my name is Corah. I will be reading pages 261 through 270. Congratulations again for reaching this point of insurmountable odds and probability. My goal is to care for you in whatever way I am able, and I can only request that you attempt the same. Even though I completely understand whatever insignificantly important choices you decide to make are up to you and beyond and are meant to happen, whatever they may be or end up as. That is us. That is us. This and that are how we became us. I became you, or how I became you, and you I. And we are here together and apart simultaneously, and also not in quantum superposition. And you are observing the results of these past moments and words and everything leading up to them as I have collected here. So what now? You tell me. As I know, we are now able to do so unless too far apart across our limits of time, perception, or reality. We are quantumly entangled particles affecting each other.
And so, what I mean here is my goal, what I believe my purpose in life is, or what at least my why is. I can't say my purpose because I don't really know my purpose. You kind of decide that yourself in a way. But what I believe my why is to attempt parability. My goal is to care for you in whatever way that I am able, or that we are able to, work together with. And we have our own abilities and disabilities to do that. And so I intend to help in the ways that I can. And while we are here, directly, while I'm still here, what I mean by how I became you, and you I, and here we are, and we are here together and apart simultaneously, and also not in quantum superposition, is like now this information, no matter whoever you are now hosting it. I have transferred part of myself, but not only myself. This is a collection of information all across time and space, and then gathering all that together, and then now it's transferred into you, and you have the choice what to do with that, to transfer it elsewhere or not, or the whole spectrum of anything. But additionally, when I am gone, and I, just as we talked about, decay back into, life itself. Like all of my matter and energy just fizzles out and redistributes back into the universe and everything. Eventually, maybe I become someone or something else again who can look back at whatever this information transforms into by that time, which who knows how long that would take. And hopefully this information has expanded from there. And not just this information, but my ability to help throughout time. Because my reach right now is, whatever size it may be here, and my ability to help you or the future is the size that I have now. But that can change, that can expand, that can grow. Whether I witness that or not. But that's kind of the goal behind this, is to keep refining this information, these ways that we work together, these no missions, these win missions, what is good, what is bad, why do we do anything that we do, and how do we achieve parability together, knowing that all these things are going to happen kind of no matter what. And so how do we work together through that and make this just a little bit better?
If you are able to say hello, speak aloud or think it. Perhaps I can hear you, even though you're speaking it from the year 8,025,000. And if that capability is eventually possible, I'd love to speak to you beyond introductions.
So if you can, and you're in the future right now hearing this, I'll give it like 5 seconds. Now, I know that you would probably not be able to say hello right now because it would probably collapse space and time, uh, sharing that awareness of. But, leave a comment down below if you're from the future.
And now I, or yourself, find ourselves saying or thinking hello to ourselves. We're not, but you're still reading and I'm still writing. We're both experiencing our space and time. The music playing on my end right now is The Birth, The Funky Knuckles, or New Birth, The Funky Knuckles. And you, we, at every second, new births growing up to result in forever expanding new immeasurable supermaxims of ourselves and each other and everything. And while I'm making recommendations, check out Snarky Puppy and Tigran Hamasan. And whatever you want to share with me, you are currently able to do that in this moment now. Whether I am there or not, because we know now that we are each other simultaneously experiencing each other's connections across time and space, directly and indirectly, collectively and individually. Our greatest action of being is to be and or not be, while having been and now being, and further resulting in the formative connection and collection of all it is and continues being and doing. Attempting to connect me, us, beyond yourself to whatever ability, within and without your existence. Some of you reading this may not even be born yet, as it is being composed. If you can read these words, tell me now, or as soon as you are able to, or are able or want, by some form of notification, what to look up at for examination, and I will reply to it. And if you are unable to contact or connect with me personally, do so with your surroundings. Just be yourself and with us as your environment in whatever reality. We are connected from these moments directly and indirectly forever. I look at the song playing and it is Love is the Message. So perhaps love is the message, but this
is a little silly thought. I semi-joke, but I am semi-serious when I say if you are able to reach through time and say hello in this moment, then that would change our entire understanding of life, the universe, and everything, right? And so there is a possibility that you in the future are not able to do that in the way that we would like you to here in the past. But that also kind of makes me think, one time I went to this art party kind of thing in this warehouse, and the whole theme of the event was that this guy was putting like $10,000 into a savings account or an interest account, and then had this plan to continue passing that account to people over time until the interest grew enough to build a time machine. And then the goal of having the party was that if that ever happened, then the invitation was, if this ever does come true, then the time traveler would come to this party and join us at the party. Now, either the time traveler is not allowed to do that, or we never reach that point, or someone fucks it up and they spend that money and they ruin it for everyone. And so we'll never know the true answer. But to my knowledge, the time traveler didn't at least announce their appearance. Maybe they were there. It was a pretty big party, a big old warehouse. But I just always thought that was a fun, fascinating concept. Maybe, who knows, maybe you are reaching out to me right now in some way. Maybe you are the one sharing these thoughts through me. Science fiction.
And that is what is happening and happened to me. What is happening to you? What are you doing? What are you experiencing, you magnificent outer being of the future, that I am currently unaware of or unable to know because I am possibly no longer around? When you can, if you are not ready, keep in touch. If you're not already, keep in touch with that connection to us, and then influence your understanding of reality with whatever form of your current reaction. And again, we arrive now reading.
Hold on, got some skips in here. Then I put here, I just now put this together for you, but you've already been introduced to it earlier above and again below. And it's a Spotify link that I placed in earlier in time, and then here, and then also quoting from page 259, Saturday, August 29th, 2020. The same link inserted at Sunday, August 30th, 2020. And now inserting this past quote of that moment on Sunday, August 30th, 2020. So again, it's just some little miniature time travel within the treatise.
Or experiencing this moment of eternity at whatever time it is now, wherever it may be across our space dimensions. I cannot yet predict or read.
Above that and below what Corah just read, I also have a point where if you are reading this treatise or even watching, I ask for verification, enter your current dates and times here when you see this. And so if you're watching this right now, just leave a comment. Leave a comment what day it is, what time it is, and if you'd just like to share anything, what you're feeling at this time, whatever you want to share, as long as it's the date and the time that you are accessing this moment right here. Immortalize that.
However, I eventually choose to finish the previous sentence or groups of sentences.
Okay, so it says, I'm going to fini. Then it says Monday, April 18th, 2022-ish, this sentence on this date and at this time. June 12th, 2022, and again on this day. And then June 19th, 2024, and again on this day. And then I cannot yet predict or read how I eventually choose to finish the previous sentence or groups of sentences and words, because now we're going back to the original time.
Sentences and words in the future, but I will ultimately at some point in time be the one to finish it. And you have just read whatever it eventually says or lacks. All it says now at this point in time is I'm going to fit. This is the next moment still in between finishing that scene. Though it has already been completed much before your point in time, within the future and myself right now in the past, within seconds after I have written it, marvel at that. Reflect in its majestic greatness of happening, that we are existing as parts of each other and are influencing each other at our intersecting moments of time and space. You are possibly guiding me towards this goal. I am guiding you through this collection of information and experience. I have no way of knowing what you know at this moment, but we together simultaneously have a closer understanding to it as you are reading this and while writing it and or reviewing it. It is also possible that you are reading a version of time where I haven't yet returned to finish that sentence, and we are between those quantum states until it happens. Look back.
So for 2 years, this sentence was unfinished. And so all the people that I sent this out to, or anyone who looked at this, if they ever checked that part, that sentence was incomplete at the time, until starting at 2022.
Back at pages 3, 4, 65, or 300. You are now coming back from pages, from one of those pages.
And so this is another choose your own adventure point within the treatise. You're either coming from much earlier in the treatise, from page 180, or you're coming from pages 3, 48, 65, or 300. Again, if you are reading the entire treatise, there are sections where it's like, okay, you can skip ahead to this part if you don't want to read all the stuff within this and everything. If you just want to kind of get to the ending where it kind of wraps up and gathers everything together, then you're most likely jumping here. Or if you want to jump to the end, then it's saying just jump all the way to page 300. Oh, what did I do? Okay.
Pages, or are naturally arriving through the eventual moments of natural progression, having experienced everything beyond and or everything between and or beyond pages 1 through 302 of this experience. You can continue in every state within and beyond that, whether you choose to skip everything between those pages and continue forward with the information that I am now typing and you are now reading, or any variation of it. It is your choice as a being of existence to do what you do next, while also knowing that everything you do is exactly what's supposed to happen within and without of your control, and all you can do is inevitably just be yourself and see what happens. And those thoughts, decisions, and actions become reflections of us.
So right now,
Golden Brown,
whatever you're doing, you're just being yourself. You're just doing the things that you do, right? And those thoughts and decisions and actions are the reflections of us. And so whatever you're doing right now is now eternally what you did in that moment a second ago. And now is continuing here as we, shift through time. The past becoming the present as it moves into the future. Or the present becoming the past as it moves into the future.
David Brubeck begins in the background. I look up and the people in the video are looking back at me through the recorded frames from the camera within their time, as if they knew they were making eye contact from across time. And I understand that in their moments of purity and existence of being, in that moment, how they are really just looking outside of themselves and seeing, creating, and being themselves reflected back at them as they would be reflected in the lens of a camera, recording the moment, or as you would when looking out in the void, and as the future funk looks back into you.
And so when you take a picture, or when you take a video of someone, you may be looking at the camera, but really you're looking at the future. And whoever might be looking at that video or that photo. And so I'm looking at you in the future. Again, we've kind of talked about this, but I'm looking at a camera and I'm looking at a computer screen. There's no one really I'm talking to except the atmosphere, I guess, the room around me and everything. And eventually this reaches someone or something. Or it doesn't, But if you don't do, then seemingly no one or nothing will until something eventually does.
Manimal Hands Hourglass. Once again, I am finding meaning and patterns within the natural happening of music and surroundings. Just as I introduced within the first few pages of this document, once again, as always, we are existing within that influence of each other that I call the funk. And I'm hoping that at least at this point you understand that those patterns of circumstance and coincidence never stopped and are resulting in this moment that you are experiencing. Do you feel the funk? If not, return to page 1 or continue to continue. Saturday, September 5th, 2020. Receptacle of consciousness.
So it says Alaya, which I think that might be pronounced. I'm not sure. Alaya means receptacle. Alaya Vijnana means receptacle of consciousness. And Vasana means memories. I'm assuming these might be Buddhist terms? Because they sound like something that would come out of the Astavakra Samhita or such. Lost myself. Google this. Control C. Yeah, it's Mahayana Buddhism. It's part of the 8 consciousnesses. I'm going to keep that open and dive into that when we're done here.
And memories. Who, what, when, where, why, how we are present within, without, is our self-pleasure. Vinasa to our alaya. Even if you hypothetically, metaphysically cannot coexist with any particle of matter, energy, or consciousness, even reduced down to the tiniest plank or beyond essence of its atomic or quantum nature, we must honor the pleasures and vinasas that are not our own and that exist within ourself outside of your alaya, because their existences are what makes us whole. Much like a hole in a center cannot exist by itself. It is the surroundings that are forever around it that make the center even possible. That is the funk, and we can best honor it through mudita, vicarious self-pleasure, even when not self-pleasing, selflessness, as we are a result of it, and our outcome is its advancement and the nature of its homostasis, and our reactions to what it is, the self of how we honor it. June 19th, 2024.
So mudita is sympathetic joy, or joy that's felt for someone else's good fortune or happiness. It's kind of the opposite of schadenfreude, which is the joy in other people's misfortune. There was something else that I wanted to say through here. So basically what this is talking about is like, since you exist, because all of life and everything happened and led up to your being and the significance of that, to dismiss that as unspecial and to also like dismiss everyone else's as unspecial and to not care is suggestingly a disservice to you and beyond you. Because again, what we see, especially in the animal kingdom, of what works, but also within physics and metaphysics, is like the self must be taken care of its needs. It must be self-contained in a way, or not contained, but self-content, maybe. Your needs must be met, right? And not your wants. Your needs must be met first, and then when you are taken care of, you can then start helping out around you, or you can just take everything else that now that you have all of your needs met, you can prepare for the next time you might need needs, and then that leads to hoarding and greed and everything, and be like, oh, I gotta keep up in I have to keep hoarding and keep collecting this wealth, so that I don't return to a point where I don't have my needs met. But when you help the surrounding selfless, all of you together are basically, to plant the metaphor, growing this garden that will then be able to feed each other, and so you'll all just be taken care of to a degree. And that's as we talked about in the previous videos, that's why I believe this process of trophallaxis is so relatable. And if we were able to do that as humans, not just with food and wealth, but like information and other things that humans need, and we're able to just give a little bit from ourselves to each other, then everyone will be taken care of. But instead, we're also focused on our needs, because we live in a culture, in a society that causes those burdens to be. and that divides us from each other, from even being able to help each other. Because again, the people who could give a little bit, a little bit more than those who can't have any, or don't have any, they usually don't want to help out, because that's uh, again, I'm just kind of repeating myself of what we talked about in the last few videos, but like, um, it's not really their responsibility to save the world now that they have power, influence, and money and wealth. Uh, they can, as we've talked about here, do whatever they want. They're human beings. They have any choice that they can make. They can do that, right? But when we are then going into arguments of parability versus anti-parability, selfish versus selfless, that's when it kind of becomes a little more problematic, because it's just like you could choose to help others, but you are literally just being like, nah, why? Which again is not wrong, but kind of a, a little shitty, Let us continue, because most of the stuff that I'm saying we've already been. But again, I try to help people who are just tuning in to this to kind of give you a little taste as well.
As funk is the true whole self. So, if your natures of being, however large or small, are unable to bond or are super reactive of each other, then honor each other by cooperating into boundaries of the amount of space necessary. Some particles have no choice but to overcome each other or react together by nature. But we as conscious beings are aware that if we do so by choice, willingly overcome or consume outer self, then that self has chosen to exist greater selfishly and has willingly become much like an expanding cancer of space and being, rather than choosing to exist without and within each other's influence harmoniously. June 19th, 2024. Consider how atoms, in order to conform, not collapse, are perfectly composed of properly spaced out electrons across electric and magnetic fields surrounding protons and neutrons collected in the center. They work together by being individually part and connected. Holon's thought holarchy. Let's say the musical note A.
So again, what I mean there, like, atoms are really like 99.99999% space, right? But they still form this structure, this atom, by working together and also by opposing each other, by kind of not mashing all together, or else it will become something else when it bonds in a different way. It becomes a different type of particle. And so kind of humans in all life and all things are kind of like that. Some will react in different ways to each other. But that doesn't mean that like entire cultures and everything have to continue these reactions. We can change. We can have different reactions, because we're a different level of consciousness and being, rather than something that like when you mix two elements together and they're always going to have a similar reaction, or if not the same, or predictable reaction. And so it's important that like if you are unable to work together with someone, and you have to establish a boundary with them, then even that boundary should be like honoring each other still. Like you should still be like, okay, well, I don't want to be in the same room as you, but you know what? Like you still exist. I still exist. And if we were sitting here either in the same room or even across boundaries and still choosing to fight each other, then you are, quote unquote, polluting the environment around you and bringing that into your problems. And so instead, like, you could basically just be like, you know what? We don't get along, but let's still support the environment beyond us so that they can still, everyone can still prosper together. We can still be a part but we still need to work together to form a cohesive structure and bond. And it's possible. That is absolutely possible and doable. But I think a lot of people get caught up in like, people just don't get along. We've never been able to get along. History shows that there's always been war and stuff. Things change, and if you really believe that people can't get along and everything, then maybe you are part of the problem of people not being able to get along. Uh, but I think that like, because it does feed into like, maybe you are that, and maybe you can never change. Maybe you, like, or me, are the issue, and we're just going to always have a reaction to each other in that way, or to other things. And so, what do we do together? How do we reach a true parability that doesn't destroy either one of us, or all of us, or both of us? You know, like, because all those options will and won't happen. But now that we're reaching a greater awareness of it, and that we recognize the power that we actually have, and being able to do something about it and prevent those moments, what do you choose to do? How will you respond?
Became self-aware and selfishly chose to remove or consume the note B so it would have more room for itself because of some selfish reaction. It would result in A, C, D, E, G, F, and or A, C, D, E, G, F, and or A, C, D, E, G, F, and become a marred attempt of harmony via cause and effect. C, D, E, G, F, and G would next be forced into quantum reaction of readjustment because the decision A made to selfishly overtake or remove selflessness. Whether we like it or not, we must exist together because our evolutions, or the offspring of our evolutions, become less resistant and bond with each other, eventually becoming a natural scale. A is not greater or less than B, C, D, E, F, or G. They are all together, each the center and their surroundings, resulting in a directional expanding existence of higher and lower frequencies and all that jazz. And each of those notes and variations make every song and sound in the history of reality. And like as such, we are one of those notes and or chords in the symphony of life, and the funk and our existence is much like the appearance of a chord or discord in a composition within composition within composition, and so on. While many bands, orchestras, and musicians infinitely manufacture reflections and refractions of these notes and sounds in every variation possible.
So we get to extend the metaphor, and to talk a little bit more about it. Like, if you have all the notes A, B, C, D, E, F, and G, right? And one of those notes took out another note. Like, let's say they were able to, kill each other or murder each other or something like that, right? And let's say D takes out B. And so D moves in on that territory, and now there's no B anymore. We just don't have the note or the frequency B. And so it either becomes A, C, D, E, F, G, or A, C, C, D, E, F, G, or it just skips B altogether, A, C, D, E, F, G, or A space C, D, E, F, G. We don't know what that would be like to remove an entire item from existence. Though what we've talked about earlier in the treatise, even if you did, that note would have still happened at some point in time. We've just removed it, and so you can't remove it from all of history. You may be able to remove it from this moment, or alter the future into it doesn't happen there, but it still happened in the past. It can always have never not happened. But you can see like the power of the effect that would have. Like, if something did have that power to be able to cause that much effect, then it changes everything altogether. You alter all of the course of history and everything. Because all of these notes and everything make literally every sound and song that we've ever been able to hear, or will eventually hear, or may not, you know. I don't know, that's kind of basically what I have to say about that, but just imagine that as each other. Like, if we can absolutely take each other out, but then it becomes a whole different song. But some people want that. Some people want that different type of song. So I don't know. I don't know a solution. Again, my suggestion is pairability of the attempt to work together. Because eventually, humans, if time and space go long enough, and let's say we do discover aliens or something like that, then it's probably going to be us versus them, unless they're friendly or something like that and help us. But if we really do expand into the universe, kind of like this Star Trek scenario, then we are also going to be, if there are multiple species of aliens and everything, some will be friendly, some won't, some will, just be. We're going to have to respond to all of that. And if we're still at home just fighting each other and stuff, then we'll eventually probably just take each other out, rather than be able to go explore the awesome universe that is.
Sunday, September 13th, 2020. If you're reading this, especially if you have started from the beginning, we have achieved through observation of information of quantum data input storage and only a small glimpse of the influences of their history interacting with each other, a way to store a fraction of our greater consciousness self into you and us and into each other and everything indirectly through power and trans-interconnectedness of the funk. You can never remove the quantum existences and influences of these ideas and happenings, and how everything has shaped and resulted into the moments of our beings. And if you were by some being of able to, then you were still provided the option of being able to, resulting from all existence and non-existence throughout and without the funk. So even if you achieve to reach that new reality within the funk and now be not, you are still a result of the funk and were once you or a yaw of yourself. In the event I were to be deceased and even our entire reality brought to a state of not being, these documents, true or false, solidify my and our existences and beings, and how I have now transferred a saved fraction of that information to you and your perspective of what I and everything around us has created and guided us toward, the power that you have as well to do so, the universe and beyond.
And so, just as I described, you can't remove any of this from history. Once something happens, you could take it out, of the equation for the future, but you can't take it out of the equation for all of history and existence. This moment will always be forever. Even if all this information is lost, it still all happened. We still all happened.
We are in a quantum balance superimposed state of on and off, yes and no. Schrodinger's cat is dead or alive, between and beyond. We do not know what will happen until each state is observed, and these states are influenced by existences of itself and surrounding outer self. So we are able to influence those states of the predicted or known becoming reality, as it is moving so fast it has already happened in the future and past, even though you are presently experiencing it now. Our timelines exist within a greater timeline, and this is the information I have gathered about how it exists and influences each other, and how the observations of this and these moments in our reality We are now have always been connected at these points from beginning to beyond. We are the funk resulting from what is and not yet the funk, and it goes trans-interquantumly and trans-metaphysically forever until the last existence of energy or the funk decays or whatever results after that. We are the proofs and the current explanations of how-tos to investigating, exploring, learning, evolving, and existing within and without further time and space and even probable eventual potential lack of.
And so again, all of this information is a collected summary, a personal collection of a lot of collection and connection. This is me trying to connect with a bunch of people, gather a bunch of information that history has left us, put it all together into maybe something allegedly digestible, share that, and then hope that it makes enough sense to you that you are able to expand a little bit in your own way and relate it to either back to this or to another point. And then we just keep doing that as it evolves. Now the goal is to keep polishing this information so that even if in the future things change, then you can still look back and it would make a little bit more sense, having that future also being influenced to it. But there could be a point where like that stops happening, and then a Googleplex amount of time down history, this information is stumbled upon, and it exists only as a snapshot of time, because now it would be like a little bit more difficult to understand theoretically. But maybe they're so far in the future that they can just digest it, interpret it, whatever. Again, we don't know. These are just theories and ideas. And I'm just formulating these together in an attempt to potentially help us reach further connection in the future or in the present as well.
It is now enter and outer simultaneously, willing and unwillingly, partly your choice with what we do with this information and the realities we guide and assist our influences towards. What are we to do within and without ourselves? I understand the irony of this, but make sure you smash that like and subscribe and inspire the greater algorithm by sharing the influence of these moments and files of the quantum consciousness memory data by hashtagging the hashtag the funk with the date you reached this point to further observe our greater interconnected influences resulting in each other and what we are, have been, and become.
And so if this information resonates with you, if you think the goal to continue polishing this information until eventually it becomes something that is almost guaranteed to help someone better themselves, like imagine we could show this information to someone, whether it be the full treatise or in a pill form, and you could take it and then just understand all the knowledge within it and all the knowledge behind it. If you agree with that, then again, smash that like, smash that subscribe, share it, do something about it. But if not, if you hate all this information and everything, you don't agree with any of it, then share it with your enemies.
I thank you for your time. And even though you will and won't, this isn't suggesting you to simply exist impulsively, but collectively through the consciousness, unconsciousness, and subconsciousness attempts to be aware of the within, without, between, and beyond yourself and the influence you have and we have with the eternal everything and resulting impacts upon that everything, nothing, and beyond. Tuesday, September 15th, 2020. There is something rather than nothing. Peter Lenz. I downloaded the document you see above to my phone on June 9th, June 11th, 2019. And unfortunately forgot about it until a few days ago when going through my files. I had originally come across it with a few Google search after pondering the thoughts of how something must have, as we are experiencing now, come from nothing, which we are currently able and unable to confirm, since I had previously been exploring these ideas when composing my album Reach in May of 2019. This is a further example of the funk providing, guiding, and revealing itself in the ways that it works across time, space, and beyond through its quantum entangled algorithms of evolution and expansion and influence. And it is still probably not even close to the final solutions and or explanations of it. Merely it is another providing path that we are now connecting to and expanding from. My goal when putting together this was to expand the exposure of this phenomenon of guidance by the funk so that
Then it says Carvanial malleable recognition.
resulting influences of its existence could further branch into the results of our future understandings at a faster, more connected rate, simply by existing and observing the results of these observations of information, connection, and existence. Now, whether you were before or not at any level or degree, you too are directly connected to this information and are able to provide and reach further understanding simply by existing without it, and then observing and experiencing how it is further provided to you, having been affected by its influence.
So kind of one of the concepts of why I'm doing this is to pay it forward. To pay it forward to you, to the selfless, to the future. Because like there are going to people currently and even probably in the future that don't understand this. That they just when they look at it and they read it, it doesn't make a lot of sense to them. It might be difficult for them to read or understand. But the goal is to like through it, perhaps I get the opportunity to help educate others to where that when they are exposed to this information, it makes a little bit more sense to them. They are able to understand greater conceptual words and phrases and things. Because again, just like we've talked about throughout this, and especially in the last few episodes, you're bettering yourself at every moment, so that when you reach a moment that you are unfamiliar with, you have a little bit more bravery when you're presented with that fuego puerta or this expansion into the unknown. You have a greater concept of like how to improvise, how to adapt and react, and that's kind of the. I'm not trying to like because right now, especially and throughout like history, eugenics is this thing that exists of that like we have to breed this certain people, we have to breed out certain people, we have to eliminate these things. But like what would be a more progressive view is like if we educate each other, if we actually teach each other, if we build better systems of schools and ways to teach each other how to be better present and how to better ourselves every day, then it becomes this entirely different thing. And but I think the inverse of that, why the people in power don't want that to happen, is because that causes greater. I just had the word in my head. Competition. And big companies and stuff don't want competition. People in charge don't want competition. I do. I want options. I want, if there is something better out there that can defeat a company that has now become so corrupt that it's taking advantage. Because like the Philosophize This podcast that happened today talked about like intentions usually start out good, right? But once they become actualized and they become growing into this thing that's beyond themselves, eventually they get higher and higher chances of becoming corrupted or polluted, right? And being used to take advantage of things because now they have this such great influence that the people who do have the power take it in. They're like, okay, now let's continue using that for bad. And so how do we fight that? And my goal is to just continue breeding more competition so that we can eliminate those factors and those people, and hopefully not corrupt within. And that's the biggest issue. That one of the biggest issues that we face now is that corruption that seems to happen. And so that's why I want to attempt my own be the change that you want to see in the world. I believe that if given this power, I'm going to do everything in my nature to feed the selfless. I'll be taken care of if I'm in that level of power. I just want a humble life. I just want enough to get by and meet my needs. I don't have a lot of wants. My wants are to change the reality around me that cause that synthesis to be. That pairability. That is my want. And my need is just my basic needs. Food, water, shelter, some money to get by, connection, family, friends. Some of those are wants, but hopefully you get what I mean. And so the goal is to keep expanding this influence until we're able to either reach those goals or attempt them. And then in that attempt, pass it on to the future. Pass that torch to someone who can then take that attempt even further next time. Because now they have that path that we carved together. Because if we don't, then that path wouldn't exist. There'd still be this wall or blockade in the way, or just a different path that leads somewhere else,
Anything you do next is what's supposed to happen. You are guided to it by the influence of the funk, by reading what I and all others before us have explored, created, and collected, or even a fraction of it. I am hoping that you are the one to bring the next great change and collect and share further answers and connections to the funk. Write down how you're feeling and what you're thinking right now, and save it and share it, and you will infinitely increase the chances of finding further answers and questions.
And so I mean that. What I mean here is like all of life and reality and existence happened, and it led us to right here, you and I sharing this moment together. And so what do you do next? Anything that you do is supposed to be the right choice. You might be sitting there being like, oh no, I have all this power of choice. I hope I don't make the wrong decision. But you will and you won't. Even the wrong decision is the right decision in the grand scheme of things. And so I am hoping, not only am I hoping that you're the one that will establish a next great change, but I know that you are a one. You may not, again, we've talked about this throughout several episodes, but there is no the one. The only the one is funk as this one collective thing, but even that's an infinite hierarchy. And so you are a one of it, and you have immense power to actually do and be and make decisions and choices. And so that's why it's important to better yourself so that you know what decisions and choices to make. And it doesn't get easier, and it doesn't get harder as well in doing that. So better yourself every day, just a little bit in some area.
Answers will come to you, whether they are right, wrong, between, or beyond, and the funk and your reactions to them and understandings of will guide you to whatever comes next. Carpe diem or not, do within and without the funk will expand it and learn from it in the algorithms of.
Of course, skipped a sentence. Carpe diem or not, do what you do, and it will be both forever correct and incorrect. And everything and all, within and without the funk, will expand with it and learn from it.
The funk will become greater and greater by beyond the blank legend length into eternal every. Continuing the reading from page 267, Saturday, September 19th, 2020. I have just completed the first full through draft and editing of this document. I'm curious and excited to see what it becomes of or doesn't. Here's to probably many more edits and additions to come. I hope it is helpful in some way or form to you or someone or something else. It is also the 3-year anniversary of my music project, Who'da Thunk.
And so, Saturday, September 19th, 2020, I believe this started like December 12th, 2019, if I'm not mistaken. It was definitely December 2019. And so it took a whole year to get to this moment. Now, we've definitely had a lot of inserts, of future time inserts, that kind of, expanded this end here. But here we are at this end of the first edition, at least. But as you can see, it keeps going because it's now in what you're reading is the 5th edition, but it's currently in the 7th edition, almost 8th edition when these videos wrap up.
June 12th, 2022, second draft completed today. March 25th, 2023, third full draft complete. June 22nd, 2024, fourth draft. And August 25th, 2024, fifth draft.
I guess I forgot
Sean
to put the
Penalver.
edition.
After beginning documentation last December, I have just completed the first full through draft in the beginning of my dissertation. I am curious and excited to see what it becomes of or does.
Oh, here it is, over here in the 7th edition. December 11th, 2024, the 6th draft. And we're on the 7th right now.
Here's to probably many more edits and additions to come. I hope it is helpful in some way or form to you or someone or something else. Oh, this is the same. I believe this information should be free, accessible to all. Please keep in mind that while now edit it once it's over, presented information is still incomplete and under review. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, information to add, edits to suggest that as an important part of the results of this study, I'd love to connect with you and your input and expand together. And then there
it says, love ya. But again, all of this information is incomplete. It may never even be completed. And that's why I need you to help me do that. It can't just be me. It's a collection of everyone and everything. And that's how it is going to expand forward. And so, again, do what you will with this information.
There is a bunch of hashtags, a bunch of words. Here are all the new June 12th, 22. Here are all the new words and concepts I've learned since 2020.
I'm guessing she's not going to read these.
Tuesday, September.
I am going to read these. So we've got hashtag ontology, hashtag epistemology, hashtag philosophy. I'm not going to say hashtag. Psychology, quantum theory, metaphysics, ethics, sociology, connection, creation, perspective, experience, the funk, theology, teleology, coherentism, foundationalism, externalism, contextualism, internalism, entelechy, neo-Jamesian, pragmatism, cosmology. And then after that, June 12th, 2022, here are all the new words and concepts I've learned since 2020. So what these are is basically whenever I learn a new word that I haven't come across, something, a new concept or word or everything, I will save it in a document in my phone. And so these are all the last few years and the new things that I learned in those years. Pragmatic, 2020, pragmatic, lacuna, entelechy, epiphenomenalism, introception, doxastic, and normative defeaters, conciliationism, Jamesian, nominalism, Mariology, dissemination, seminic, supervenient. Some of these I may pronounce incorrectly or not. Indelible, orthogonal, lachrymose, and entropy. 2021, Platonism, Middle and Neoplatonism, antipathy, axion, anion, time crystal, relata, subjunction, bijection, tortious, interstitial, substantivalism, causal and spatial temporal relations, eternalism, presentism, growing block theory, moving spotlight theory, moving tree theory, indexicality, pluralism, obsequious, fermions, hadrons, and bosons, braggadocio, eschatology, epigenetic, parochial, eschaton, eschatron, eschaton, I think, concrescence, molecular Darwinism, Schwarzschild radius, saltatory, Ixwerpoc, visual microphone, mellifluous, intaxi, fatalistic, echolalia, chthonic, glia and astrocytes, burden of proof, the set theory, Russell's paradox, incompleteness theorem, bon vivant modus operandi. Oh, that should have a slash in between them. I'm going to write that in the notes. Bear with me. Sorry for the wait. Page 271. Is it bon vivant? Slash modus operandi. Okay. Syllogism, ataraxia, pneuma. Yeah, I think that's pneuma. Apothea, proselyte, manichaeism, avuncular, cacoethes, inured, proffer. 2022, Orangism, Jainism, Aki, compatibilism, limerence, deontology, consequentialism, moral absolutism, hermeneutics, exegesis, Lope, philosophical suicide, Übermensch, Overman, Dasein, poiesis, praxis, facticity, Droya, semiotics, structuralism, largesse, rhizome, hegemony, endofunctor, munted, ironist, theodicy, anthropodicy, afropessimism, sinusoidal, eigenstates, antinomianism, salvific, soteriology, Carvaniist, Carvanianism, shim, we mission, we mit, no mission, no mit, key mission, key mit, manument, ontogeny, holarchy, holon, stochastic, filial piety, Zhao, humorism, neologism, quantum malurognition, monofacetate, monofacitude, ambulatory, inimitable, ecumenical, Vordaer, Cicerone, transcranial, transcranial magnetic stimulation, narratology, emanation, proprioception, line boil, aleatory, stanchion, spline, osculation, yaw, bravura. Again, these lists are in the treatise if you want to read them. 2023, Theosophy, I am activity, emanationism, interlocution, Duke and Suk, Latibulate, Contigious, Pareidolia, Vox Manolis, Philology, Ombudsman, Obtention, Conjunctio, Anodyne, Zorstery, Condibulance, Numinous, Atopy and Atopos, Perseverate, Nirjara, Skanda, Habitua, Dantian, Proffer, Aquiline, Litigious, Wulishi, Akikori, Honkmore, Morabarak, Lesabarak. 2024, Bedim, Numpty, Threat Simulation Theory, Modicum, Eudaimonic, Organon, Sadhana, Jiva, Isvara, Epexegesis, Non-Commentant, Effulgence, Malivian, Legardemain, Stormy Petrel, Gadding, Doggerel, Vitiation, Adroit, Perspicacity, Conflagration, Mollify, Obstreperous, Ibid, Abeyance, Chide, Baleful, Fortistic, Abnegate, Cogent, Plaudits, Corollary, remuneration, promulgated, anathematized, enchot, winnow, isopraxism, vituperative, derossary, autotelicity, conciliatory, recalcitrant, vacillate, deleterious, midrash, opprobrious, self-aggrandizement, salvo, intelligentsia, barminess, fiduciary, polemic, prole, sinecure, panacea, palliative, extirpated, licentiously, etiology, apposite, conviviality, prima facie, fecundity, corollary. I have that twice. I do. I have that twice. Corollary is twice. That's on page 272. Corollary times 2. I guess I learned it again. Ameliorate, vertiginous, exigency, inimical, aesthete, barbarous, propedeutic, mythology, apodictic, assert, torque. Is that right? That can't be right because that looks misspelled. Assertoric. I should have an I. So I need to fix that as well. Page 272. ASSERTORIC. Okay. Cinderesis and Parisia. And that is all that's in the 7th edition. There are 2025 words as well in my notes. But let us continue. Hope you enjoyed all those words that I'm sure I butchered. Because again, you learn these things and then you forget them.
22nd, 2022.
No, this is Tuesday, December 22nd, 2020.
Life with the link to the Waking Life movie from IMDb. It's been in my queue for a while, but it seems Waking Life has had a lot to say about our relative perspectives of the phenomena, experience, informations, and experiences within and without the funk. Whether you are awake or dreaming, I hope you can use this collection of information to help assist or guide you through the awareness that is your current time and state of being into whatever resulting reality of our collective existence. Personally, I will continue to add my perspective of our results to this documentation as long as I am able. And eventually, when I am unable, I can only hope that the creation and collection of these informations continues to serve as a useful guide or foundation for anyone or anything on how to approach whatever comes after. Shortly after the above viewing, I was also suggested and led to watch Ram Dass Going Home. At this moment, I ask myself, and now yourself, if life or death or any form within or without consciousness is much like the state of awareness within or without dreams or reality. Wouldn't you want to help your awareness prepare for itself in that eventual state on how it would choose to persist? Just as you are in reality every day, learning more on how to experience and survive within and without yourself and your surroundings. If you try to do so in the conscious dream state, you educate and strengthen those abilities within and without yourself, and eventually you become more in control of your actions and reactions within your inner and outer consciousness, dream, or reality. How to best act as yourself in that or those states of being. Would you rather exist within a dream or reality where you exist more as a present character in a movie or set of events? Or would you want to have more effect on what happens to your character and how they interact with their surrounding dreams or realities? If you are able, once you become aware and understanding and control of your conscious self, are you so or not in similar control or not of your eventual dreams to come after death speculatively? Would you rather choose what happens in your life, dream, death, or after, or would you rather it be the dream or reality that puts itself together while you just exist through it until you wake up or not? Let's say you're stuck repeating a dream, nightmare, or moment of reality. Wouldn't you want to know how to take control and or escape that situation into the next set of events rather than repeat the same events or similar forever? I guess we get a mixture of all of it.
And so, whether you're awake or dreaming, you are training the conscious mind of how to be in those moments. And so, dreams are kind of a test of how you would react within unlimitlessness, I guess. Like, because dreams, you have no limits to a degree. You only have the limits of what you yourself can kind of create and come up with. Uh, Allegedly, maybe dreams are unlimited, you know. Um, but wouldn't you like let's say you're stuck, whether in life or in a dream, let's say a nightmare, and you can't get out. You have no way of knowing how to get out. Especially nightmares will keep you in these loops where you can't escape. But uh, would you rather want to be able to help yourself out of that or help someone else out of that? And so dreams kind of train you for when you are in real life, what to do. Or there's also speculation that dreams train you for the afterlife of what that's going to be like and the decisions you're going to make there, because your consciousness will kind of continue into this. Um, and if you, uh, and so with that ego, your ego will continue. And so, how is that ego going to interact with the collected consciousness, right? Because now you have even more power in unlimitedness than the human body does. And so if you have this powerful, strong ego and everything, then uh, the after consciousness, uh, I don't know. I don't know if they're going to want you around or not. That is complete other alleged speculation and everything. I know if it was me, uh, and there was someone who like was selfish, in the afterlife, like here I am enjoying this afterlife, and then someone else comes in and causes it to be this nightmare, right? Like, would I want that? No, I wouldn't want that. That might be what they want, but this is a shared collective consciousness. Uh, and so, what do we do about that? But to extend that into reality, we have a little bit less control, but we also have a different level of control.
I desire that this collection of information, whether at any point of true or false, outdated, or still relevant, is able to be efficiently used as stepping stones on a path to our future destinations, as well as mental exercise equipment that we can use to strengthen and prepare us for what is not to come, for what is yet us and after. When I do not know who I am, I serve you, and when I do know who I am you. Hanuman. But what happens if, when we reach this state of consciousness, won't the existence of the knowledge and understanding likely also eventually result in someone or something using this information against us or taking advantage of it via future non-mission? It is sadly very likely, but for now, all I can suggest is that we hopefully, by eventually reaching greater connectedness and trust within and without each other, or even evolving from where trust was lacking, that we, to our best perspective and experience, are guided down the correct paths and have the mental, physical, and beyond strengths, intelligence, and awareness to overcome any opposing and or harmful force. But in that overcoming, be aware as to not be replacing what you just overcame. As to best in your control, halt any evolutions of taking advantage from happening further, you personally must choose to never become that or even similar to the event taking advantage of another, even if you yourself have been at any time taken advantage of. You must be at the end to that injustice if you also want to see that injustice end within and without yourself. Others are everything. If or when you see these impurities, don't let them consume yourself or your surroundings, but choose to become the foundations of tools and informations of how to best to inform and evolve from the past and present and future when dealing with opposing or restricting forces.
So yes, again, as we talked about, even in this episode, just because you suffered doesn't mean that you have to pass that suffering on. Just because you had to go through the shit doesn't mean that you have to make the next person also have to go through the shit. And so, again, if we work together to try to overcome those that are taking advantage of us, because we need each other to do that, or else they're going to continue to take advantage of us. They're going to use us against each other and try to make us fight each other so that they can stay in power and remain in power. But we need to work together to get them out of that and to build a better system. And hopefully, we can use this and all of everything, not just this, but everything that we have as stepping stones to get to that path.
Tuesday, October 6, 2020. In response to a friend's post, I am still deep in learning, but when it comes to morals, ethics, existence, and choice, we are neither the worst or best or us. You are at every moment the purest you. It is your choice to take the present you and make it better or worse, and to understand that better and worse are different for everyone and everything. Whatever you choose influences and shapes the entirety of existences as it reacts to you both in and out of your control. All we can do is attempt to harmoniously be ourselves within and without each other and everything. Keep doing, by choice or not, and life will fill in the rest. Keep moving and looking forward. Much like how we can only see the past lives in light of our distant stars, our futures are already in motion, and we are experiencing the past as the present as we move through space and time. Our existence, decisions, actions, reactions, and more, within and without, in what shapes this reality between superpositional experienced states of being. Keep going, bud. Monday, October 12th, 2020. Monday, October 12th, 2020, I have been pondering and discussing with some peers the possibilities of technologies like Neuralink. October 19th, 2024, here's an update from the first Neuralink patient. Pretty cool stuff. And it links a YouTube and a Wikipedia page to Neuralink. Or more information about Neuralink. We could eventually be able to understand our brains and bodies much like computer systems. If you have a disability or brain malfunction, this chip or implant could pinpoint the problem and process a solution, or even an advancement to the user. We could potentially not only be able to telepathically communicate with each other through this technology, but we would simultaneously feel and understand emotions behind their formations and synapses. You could and would see, taste, touch, smell, hear, think, or experience from someone else's perspective, as if it were your own, and you could also share that experience. You could save and share dreams, or even more easily be in control of them. Video games, virtual or augmented reality could be controlled by your brain impulses, and you could experience what your avatar was experiencing. And that is the end of page 270.
I'm going to finish that paragraph. You could simultaneously be transmitting with another being or technology galaxies away at the speed of thought. So imagine, like, if we had these chips in our heads, you could literally understand what I'm trying to say to you through all this treatise at the speed of thought, at the speed of just, you download it into your head. Oh, shit, I get it now. And there'd be a lot less misunderstandings and everything because it's able to pinpoint and help our brain through technology. Another example is like with cars, you can plug in a car and it'll pinpoint like what's wrong with it. To some cars, more current cars than older cars. But imagine having that with a body. Like if something was wrong with you, and doctors didn't know what it was, you could just like check this, plug into the chip and be like, oh, you have an infection in your whatever, let's take care of that. That would be a wonderful world, to be able to exist in that and to have this, like, to branch the brain into this even higher ability than what it is. And who knows if we'll ever get there. Again, Neuralink is kind of the first step into that path. But we'll see what happens to Neuralink and how it gets used, and whether it becomes something that is used to take advantage of us, especially because of the person who is making it and funding it. So that is pages 261 through 270. Let's hear Corah's thoughts. Sorry for pausing you on that page. Let's hear her thoughts on what she had to say about this.
That is the end of my reading assignment. One of the first things I want to touch on is I think some of the strengths in the pages and the material that I had to read, or that the writing definitely exudes ambition and sincerity.
Thank you.
There definitely seems to be a strive for something profound, and I think that for the author that is wanting to connect the readers to a broader sense of the funk as a metaphor for the universe and its interconnectedness with one another. I do really enjoy the complex ideas that the author goes through, such as just the existentialism and the quantum entanglement of the past, present, and future, and how the funk affects all of that through a very deeply personal lens. Some of the things I do think the text could improve on is, although while it's very intriguing, it can also feel overwhelming at times. It often feels like a dense stream of consciousness style that makes it a little hard to follow, especially without clear breaks or really structured arguments. Sometimes also...
And again, the idea is to get clear, and that's why I had people read this, so that I could hear their opinion and try to evolve from there. Because if it was just me, then I'm reading it as myself. It's going to make sense in the ways that it makes sense to me, and so I'm trying to expand it to you. Does it make sense to you? How do you suggest to alter this sentence? Let's discuss it together so that I can make it make sense to both of us.
Sometimes the text is a little bit repetitive and tends to circle back to similar ideas or just insights. I also think it's not always clear what the ultimate goal of the text is, if it's to inspire action, provoke thought, or serve as a personal record of as like life experiences.
It is all of those things and more.
Think a more defined path of like where you're trying to take the reader might ground the reader in your purpose a little bit.
And again, that's just based off of 10 pages. You kind of gotta read the whole thing to get a little bit more context. You do and you don't.
I also really liked the inclusion of music recommendations and just the abstract musings about sound, harmony, and the additions of that, I think, made for a really unique multimedia element that helps the reader feel more immersed in the story. I also really like the talk or your sorry, I don't know how to word this. I really like the way you talk about the symphony of life and how the funk contributes to that and how everything contributes to that. It, in a way, reminds me of Pythagoreanism, which everyone knows of the great philosopher Pythagoras, created the Pythagorean theorem. But he also believed that the universe could be represented in numbers, and that applied with this mathematical formula that it would play these numbers represented music, and that when put all together it would create a symphony of the universe. And he claimed that he could hear this and that it was the sound of the heavens and basically a symphony of the world. And I think that's a cool connection to that. I had something else. Also I enjoyed the part about being connected to the dream state. I love and heavily advocate for lucid dreaming, especially for those who have issues with repetitive nightmares. I am someone who struggled with a repetitive nightmare from CPTSD, and becoming stronger in lucid dreaming and being able to take control of my dreams helped me with changing that and not having those dreams anymore. And it's also just really cool being able to control your dreams and knowing what's going on whenever you're dreaming, and know that you are dreaming and be able to have control over that. So, yeah, that was my feedback, thoughts, feelings over the assigned pages. Have a good one.
Thank you, Corah. Once again, thanks again for reading these pages and sharing your thoughts. Very much appreciated. Um, Final note on the dreaming thing. Lucid dreaming is kind of like grounding yourself in your dreams. You realize, oh shit, this is just me making up these things. So what can we do with this? Uh, and you can wake up here in reality as well. You can do the same thing. You can ground yourself and be like, oh shit, I have power within these limitations that I have. Uh, and the contradictory, you have limitations in this unlimited potential, right? But you have the power to do an influence in everything. You just have to become aware. You have to ground yourself in lucid awakeness, I guess. But that is basically all that. Once again, Corah, thank you for reading. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. Thank you, listener, watcher, reader, for being here, for existing, for verbing, doing what you do. I hope you share your thoughts below and help this information evolve, or at least pass it on to someone who you think might be able to do that. In case I don't see you again, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night forever. And as always, the funk provides. Peace out, y'all.